Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you, say it with me, cutting edge conversation while, that's right, exploring the quantum possibilities. And we have a favorite guest coming back. She's like family to us now. I see you guys in the chat room talking about it already. So happy to have her here, and we're going to be talking about some pretty expansive stuff. So if you have questions at the second half of the show, please put them in capital letters so I can see them. And if they happen to scroll up, just kind of refresh it, cut and paste and put them back in. Before we get started, I want to invite you to the hot new thing that's happening. I know it's happening all across YouTube, but it's not happening like it's happening on Broadcast Team Alpha, right? Our community, our community subscription is starting. And what does that mean? That means, when you go to a concert and people get to go to the after party or they get to go backstage. So this community, our community, Broadcast Team Alpha, is like that. It's more of an intimate forum. We're going to have special Zooms that are more intimate, and we can, dialogue back and forth. You guys can ask questions and talk to us, tell us what's on your mind, and we'll listen. And we're going to have special content for you, for the subscription community, that isn't for the mainstream part of our YouTube. You're going to get new content first, and like I said, you're going to get special content, especially for you. Augie and I have some things. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that we were really hesitant. We've been kicking it around. Should we have this conversation? Are we ready to put this out there, to the whole world? Are we ready? And we decided that we're going to keep things like that are kind of personal, a little sensitive in our subscription community. So please join us. Mac will put the link in the chat, and it's probably right there on the YouTube site. But we're so happy that you're here. Thank you for being here. We're still doing Mastermind. We're rocking and rolling in the Mastermind. We're growing like you wouldn't believe. And with growth, comes some, diamonds are made out of coal that are under pressure. And the mastermind is going through that too. We experience contrast and we experience pressure, and that makes us say, what can we do to expand to our next level so that we become a very shiny, glistening, multifaceted diamond? And that's happening. And I have to tell you, things are only getting better and better. If you'd like to join us at the Mastermind Connection on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, drop us an email at mastermindconnection.com, the mastermind connection at gmail.com. I know it's so long. We should have abbreviated it. The PHE mastermind connection at gmail.com. I promise next time it won't be that long. All right. Enough of me. Augie, let's talk about our beautiful and brilliant
Yeah.
guest. I'm so happy.
Oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be feel good, satisfying our curiosity kind of fun. And we're going to
Yeah.
step out of the box, trample all over it, burn it, and throw the ashes away so there's no chance of crawling back in the box again because it won't be there. And we have Constance Victoria Briggs with us. And she is returning for, I think, the third time to Broadcast Team Alpha because we've been talking about a lot of stuff. And she is a metaphysical, spiritual, cosmic researcher and a writer. And she's on the radio circuit because she has written, I think it is 5 books now, I think.
Yeah.
And tonight, yeah, tonight we will mostly talk about her last book that just was issued, and that's called The Moon's Galactic History. But we will also talk about the book before that, which kind of leads into this one, and that is
Yeah.
called the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries. And then again, she has also written one that calls Encyclopedia of the Unseen World. Encyclopedia of Angels, and I think there's another couple of them. So if we stray off into those, it can happen. But
We're going to
Constance
follow
loves,
the energy.
yeah, yes, I know. And she loves talking about the paranormal, the extraterrestrials, and life after death, near-death experiences. And she's hot on the trail on investigating the mysteries of the universe. And we're going to hear some of that right now. So welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. This is such a great show to be on. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much.
So great to see you again. So great to see you again. And I just
I,
want to, I like to start with just a little bit about the person before we go into your amazing work. How did you come to this? What path did you take that led you here? How did you get even into, becoming a metaphysician? Tell us a little bit about that, would you?
so, really it began when from a very young age, I just always had some sort of spiritual pull to something I couldn't put words to, but I felt connected to, I don't know, let's just call it God or the divine
Yes.
or something from the time I was very little. And so as I got older, I went on a spiritual quest. I looked at, I studied different religions, different philosophies, trying to answer those age-old questions of who
Yeah.
we are, or why we came. As I went about my life, I came to understand that we have unseen friends with us. That there is an unseen world. There are, guides that we have. There are angels. There are, I believe, those that have crossed over there, next to us, showing us the way and helping us. I really believe, with our missions that we have come to Earth for. I always felt that pull, and I always felt that there was someone else there with me, even today.
I love
So
that.
that's how I got started. That's how I got started.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Do they assist you in writing your books?
So yes. So this is what
They
I
do.
I find the most interesting is that I really think that this has been like steps, me going up steps for years. There was different levels of learning. So I learned about God, I learned about the angels, I learned about life after death. And when I got to extraterrestrials, I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I, wouldn't- I won't go into, it's just too much to go into of
Sure.
how, they show you. But, for those familiar with guides, we can get information through visions and,
Yes.
the hearing, not literally hearing, but like the third eye of seeing
Yes.
words and all kinds of ways they can. Anyway, we got to the extraterrestrials and I just I
Were
couldn't believe it.
you were blown
It was
away?
I was blown away. And that was many years ago. That was 25 years ago that I started
Wow.
studying that we are not alone in the universe.
Yeah.
We never have been. That the universe, I've learned, is teeming with life. There's life all around us on Earth that we cannot see because of, not being in the physical and not being able to see them. You hear of dogs and cats, for example, being able to see spirits. You've heard
Yeah,
that? That's because
absolutely.
they can see and hear further than the human being. So there are people, there are beings in unseen creatures around that we just don't know are there. So
Right.
I got this information, and so that, going out into the universe, there are more. There's extraterrestrials. There's life out there that we could not have imagined. Do my guides help me write my books? Yes, I believe they do, because there are sometimes where, for the Unseen World, for example, I was trying to sell the Unseen World book that's about life after death, mostly what happens when you cross over, and I
Mhm.
couldn't sell the book. And I kept getting, this, say it's all things spiritual. And it was just this little sweet but nagging that they do sometimes. So I changed the title, sent it out, got 5 hits, and sold the book. So they do help. They do
Wow,
help.
that's awesome.
They'll give me a little, what I believe is a little sentence, and then I have to try to write it down really fast before it goes away. And I know
Sure.
it didn't come from me; it came from the outside. So to
Gotcha.
answer that question,
Gotcha. I got it. I got it. So
Mhm.
tell us about your new book and how your previous book flowed into it, right?
Right. So,
Yes.
yes, if the first book, the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries,
Yes.
um, I shouldn't have been surprised, but people really wanted to talk about that book. It was a labor of love, but it was designed from A to Z to introduce people to the idea that we're not alone in the universe and that we didn't get any further in our exploration, exploration than the moon. It was, the first thing that I feel like we hit, the probes. And if you believe it, that the astronauts went up, I get, some who do and some who don't. So, but,
Exactly.
we didn't get any further than the moon before we hit something on something, before we discovered that there is someone else out there. Some people don't believe it because we haven't been educated
Yes, of
in
course.
that. But,
Yes.
that's the first place we went. It's the first place we discovered something. And I wanted to put this in a format so that people could easily like flip through it and instead of having a hard book to read. So it was an introduction. You can go to that book and you can look at what the astronauts saw when they were out there. You can look at what the lunar orbits took photographs of and sent back of structures on the moon. You
Yes.
can read about stories of some of the even the all of the Apollo astronauts, the Mercury people, um, running into lights and ships and UFOs on their way. What else? Oh, you can look
Wow.
up ancient history that talked about our moon not being in the sky but coming in. I'll get into that. So that's what the Moon Mystery book does. You can just flip through it, pick a topic, and
That's
grow.
great.
Now, when I wrote the Moon's galactic history, I wanted
Yeah.
to go a little deeper. People were asking for something more. They were asking for a narrative. Okay, so I can start with telling the moon story. I was thinking when I was writing the Moon's Galactic History book, who's going to tell the moon story? Because it has one going back, past our ancient times. And
Yeah.
so we've been taught that the moon is a dead rock in the sky. And this is why I believe people are not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Um, but it isn't. So since let's just quickly go recap the ancient times for those who haven't heard it. There were several Greek and Roman philosophers who wrote about the moon having not been there during a certain time in Earth's past.
Yes.
Um, so, when I first started telling this story, I really, I wanted to see people's reaction. People didn't believe it. So I have had to argue in this new book. I put the basics in the old one, but I argued if we're going to take what the philosophers have told us in the past, because, those ancient philosophers like Aristotle, and Ovid, we took what they had to say and we take it seriously. Well, you need to take this seriously too, what they said
Yes.
about the moon. You can't pick and choose and say, no, that's too far fetched. You can't do it. Either you believe their writings or you don't. So
Love
that's
it.
where I like to start. And I take that seriously. There was a time, that there was no moon in the sky, that Venus showed the brightest. And then as we move a little forward in time, oh, wait, the philosophers also talked about there being a people during that time named the Arcadians. They were wild people, they weren't cultured. They ate, from the land and they ran naked. And, one of the philosophers was saying, and it was, that kind of a period. But as we come up forward, there is a Sun Gate in Bolivia. We call it the Sun Gate. And it is a part of what used to be an observatory, an ancient observatory in Bolivia, where they were studying the stars. And they wrote notes um, in symbols, writings and symbols and pictures of a story about the moon. They said that the moon came in. And when the moon came in, it created havoc on Earth. There were, uprisings and turmoil and storms and things like this. Now, I, for one, do not believe that the ancient played hoax on us. So,
Right.
I believe that these were writings for their benefit and moving forward for our benefit, just as we are putting time capsules away and things today for the future. I believe they did that too. So I believe it when they said that this moon came in. So it's obvious if you connect the dots from the ancient philosophers to the sun gate that the moon, it wasn't there. All right. And so I talk about that in the new book, a little bit more extensively.
Yeah. So who hung the moon?
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody hang it
Wow.
like a
I
Christmas
talk so much.
ornament?
What you're talking about is right up there with what I found. There are places in Egypt where they talked about old writing where they talked about the time before the moon. Veda talks about the time before the moon, and that writing in the Vedas, that's some 9 to 12,000 years ago. So it was before 12,000 years ago. There were no moon here, so that thing was flown in here and parked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Why
So
does
there,
why does it look like there's a face on it? I mean, was it a joke? I mean,
I think it's just a coincidence.
When I was a little girl, I was like, oh, it's the man in the moon, and
Yeah.
I believed it.
The moon is made of cheese, right?
Exactly.
Something
Exactly.
goofy looking face.
That's
That's
funny.
funny.
That's
Well,
funny.
I mean, I've been hearing in all seriousness that the face of the moon is changing, that there may be someone up there, to I don't know if you've heard this.
Are
There
they
may
doing
be someone,
construction or what?
yeah, there may, okay, so wow. Okay, so there may be someone up there doing renovating the moon. It was one of the most interesting things that I've come across, and it is someone's theory because people. It seems that people have been saying that the moon is changing its shape, it's changing its color. It doesn't look the way they used to. That the face of the moon looks different, and that
Yes.
some researchers think that maybe whoever brought this moon in is giving it an upgrade, and that's why it's
Interesting.
changing. It's very amazing. But before I lose people, let me just get into that. Okay, so there were two Russian scientists who brought forward the idea that the moon is a spaceship. Interestingly, connecting another dot to the ancient past when the moon wasn't here, these two Russian uh, scientists said that the moon, and I will quote, well, no, wait, I'll say, they looked at NASA's information and data from the astronauts when they went up, and they said, from what they could understand, the moon is not a natural satellite. Again, it connects to the past, and that they believe there may be people in there. They said it is more likely than what we have here is a very ancient spaceship, the interior of which was filled with fuel for the engines, materials and appliances for repair work, navigation instruments, observation equipment, and all manner of machinery. In other words, everything necessary to enable this uh, caravel of the universe to serve as a Noah's Ark of intelligence, perhaps even as a home of a whole civilization with the idea of a prolonged existence and wanderings through space. So these men basically put their reputations on the line and said that the moon was brought in as a spaceship.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so whoever and whatever did that, or
Yeah.
whomever, maybe giving it an upgrade. Why not? Why not? Right?
Why
And
not?
I have to quote one of my favorite people. He is my publisher. His name is David Hatcher Childress. So I'm just going to, in my book, I write, the Soviet scientists believed that this alleged ship had engines on the inside, but on the outside was coated with a moon-looking substance to make it appear natural. So so they even thought that they had covered the moon to make it look like a moon. But David Hatcher Childress said, the whole idea that our moon is some gigantic, hollow spaceship that's been put into a special orbit around our planet and contains cities and structures that are inside and outside of the moon is to me a very reasonable assertion. And in fact, it would seem to be that our moon is some kind of gigantic artificial spaceship that is here to monitor our planet.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
So,
then the thought come up, how in the world can a spaceship be the size of the moon? Well, there's more to that, because the there's a satellite here that monitors the sun all the time, and they have a NASA print showing a spaceship inside the corona of the sun, perfectly round and bigger than Earth, sucking up energy from the surface of the sun, and then 6 hours later, it just disappeared.
yeah,
And the moon is a lot smaller than that. So why
yeah,
should not the moon possibly be a spaceship that is hollowed? In fact, it
right.
has to be hollowed in order to
Augie, is
hold
that
the
what
orbit.
is that what you think it is?
Absolutely, yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
Augie's
I,
going on the record.
yeah. I'm on the record too. I'm on the
Cool.
record too. Yeah, you
What do
know.
you guys think in the chat room? I'm just throwing it out there.
In fact, the moon can. There's one NASA scientist that said, and I forget his name now, but he said that there is more evidence in science to the fact that the moon is not there than the evidence that it is, because
Yeah,
it is too big, too heavy, going too fast, put out too
yeah,
much centrifugal force for the size that it is in order to hold that orbit. If it was solid, it had to be 2/3 further away in order to hold an orbit.
So Augie, okay, so how is it moving? How is it moving?
It's moving in a circular orbit around the Earth, and
But
it
it's
is
going
too big to hold that orbit. It
I
can't
see.
do it unless it is hollow. Then it
Interesting.
yeah.
can.
It was
Constance, do you think it's hollow?
I do think it's hollow, and
Yeah.
I think there are people in there, you know, extraterrestrials in there on the inside and outside. But I just want to say, Augie is
Please.
quoting Robin Brett. He was a NASA scientist, and he said it seems much easier to explain the non-existence of the moon than its existence. Um, Gordon MacDonald of NASA, who was a scientist, said it would seem that the moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere. And David Icke said they have no bloody clue where the moon came from, and it shouldn't by physics be there. So yeah, I believe that there are extraterrestrials in the moon and on the moon, and I'm going to tell you why.
Tell us.
Yeah, if we move forward in the moon story, you know, past that Bolivian um, writing, and we come all the way up to the creation of the telescope, which I talk about in my book. From that period forward, they have been seeing strange objects moving around on the moon. They've been seeing lights of all, which really turned, you know, I believe are UFOs, but they were recording them as seeing lights of all sizes, all around the surface of the moon, in the craters of the moon, above the moon, during lunar eclipse, all colors. There were objects that people with the telescopes way back when even thought maybe animals moving across the surface of the moon. For something that's supposed to be a dead world, there's an awful lot going on there. And the question is, who is making all the commotion? So they had this, they recorded it. I have in my hand the NASA Luna technical report, which I talk about in both books. This was commissioned by NASA. Well, obviously, because I said that. It was commissioned by NASA. And they went back to, like 17, let's see, 1500s. And
Yeah.
what happened is the astronomers recorded the date, what they saw, how long they saw the strange lights or objects moving, and the name of the scientists. Some of them are astronomers, some of them are very, very famous, and they put them in here. And this was before the astronauts went up. So they knew when they were sending people to the moon that there was someone up there. And I keep saying, when I'm being interviewed, I'm absolutely surprised that they sent people up anyway, because for me, I would have been a little worried, and they were, I think, and I'll get to that why. But anyway, this can be found on Amazon. People, you can go in
Very
here,
nice.
and they've got the list of all of that
Say the name
information.
of that again, Constance, please.
It's the NASA Luna Technical Report, and
Perfect.
it's like $5 or $6 on Amazon or something like that. And
Great.
it has this historical information. I also have a bit of it in my Moon Mysteries book because I had to talk about it. So anyway, so since that time, it shows that there was someone up there making some sort of commotion. All right, going way back when. I forgot what my point was going to be, but I was talking about, extraterrestrials on the moon. It was considered scientific fact way back then that the moon was inhabited. It was just a natural thing. They said the moon's inhabited, and we looked at it. It's got things moving, and it's got mountains and all of this stuff like Earth. So moving forward, we came along in the modern era, and we said, no, the moon has no atmosphere. There's no way anything can be living there. In our arrogance, we said that, even though they're still seeing things. So then they sent the astronaut. Oh no, they knew about this information, and they were a little concerned. That's what I wanted to say. And they went to an organization that we and had a study done, and we know the report as the Brookings Report. The Brookings Report advised NASA, because their question was, what do we do in case they encounter extraterrestrial when we send them? And the Brookings Report basically said, don't tell anybody, don't tell the public, because it will, ruin society, it'll ruin the economy. And that's why I think today they're not discussing it. They're still taking the advice of that report, even though there's evidence coming out. I mean, we're looking at videos today of UFOs leaving the crevices on the moon, and entering.
Yes.
Someone's flying them. Where are they
Yes.
going? Are they the TikToks that we're seeing? Is it TikTok? TikTok?
Yes.
Sorry,
TikTok.
I keep doing that.
TikTok.
Is it where are those UFOs going? Are they coming to Earth? Probably. Why do I
Yeah.
say that? Because we're so close and we're seeing them. So yeah, I think someone's up there. And
So
not only, hmm,
no, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I don't
Okay.
no.
So before the show, we were talking about California, and we were talking about La Jolla, and there was one night. I mean, I found the sky in California to be unlike any sky that I've ever seen before, and I've traveled. One night, I went out to see the moon, and it was so unusual, different, bizarre, otherworldly, that I looked at it and I said, I'm not sure if that's really real. I mean,
Hmm.
in my deepest heart of hearts, in my soul, I looked at it and said, I don't think that's real. And I think many of us are having that feeling, and thank goodness there are people like you now who are coming out with this amazing data to help us, equalize our gut, because our gut's going, something's out of alignment here. There's something going on and nobody's telling us about it. So tell us more. I mean, who is up there flying spaceships, Con?
Right. I just wish I could just get on a ladder and, kind of,
Let's go. I'll go with you.
get up there. So basically, they found the structures on the moon, and even though the moon is hollow, and I believe there are beings inside of the moon, there are also structures that indicate someone has been there, lived there in the ancient past, because some of those structures look to be blown apart. It looked like they were damaged in a nuclear war. And there are also craters on the moon that look like they came from not a natural, like a meteorite, but from a atomic blast. And also, we have found them in South America on Earth, these areas where they looked to be atomic, an atomic bomb had fallen on them. So there was someone, I believe, living on the moon, and I talk about the structures, in both books, and it looks like there was some sort of cosmic war, and Mars too has this sort of look. Maybe it was the moon, Mars, and Earth fighting, each other, or maybe there was another foe. But it looks like there was someone on there. Now, on the surface, maybe there was, and they went inside, or maybe there were two, or I mean, we have all kind of peoples on Earth. Maybe there was more than one group, but definitely it looks like someone had been there. And there is some rumor, if you believe in Atlantis, that maybe the moon was the territory of Atlantis. Someone had recently said. One of my lights went out. Excuse me. So 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 who's up there? Before I get into that, can I just cover what the moon may be really quickly?
Absolutely, please.
So
please.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're doing great. Thank you so much.
Sorry for the lighting. So the question is, if there's someone up there that were they aboriginals of the moon? Were they did they, if the moon was brought in, were they living inside of this moon originally and it came in? Was it created by a group of people who may have been escaping maybe a sun exploding, and they created the ship and they came here and parked it here for that reason? Are they still in there? Have they been there all these billions of years? Was the surface of the moon over there once livable? And so who knows? So, but the other, I've got some things in my book. I've just got to go down the list here.
So,
I
Constance,
think.
can I ask a question right now? You want me to wait?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question from the chat room.
Yeah.
It's from our friend Marius. Hi, Mars. Did the moon come from the Earth or from the sun, like the Earth maybe?
Right. So there is a theory that the moon is a part of the Earth, that there was a planet about the size of Mars, I think, that crashed into the Earth, and when it hit the Earth, that the Earth went spewing out into the universe, and the moon was formed. However, that is a very old theory that the scientists have dismissed. It did not come from the sun. And I'll tell you, the scientists have had 5 possible theories over the years of how the moon came to be, and they haven't answered it. They don't know what it is. They on the NASA's website, it says that it is possible. They think that maybe the moon was created by a planet hitting the Earth, but they don't know. They just don't know.
Well,
In fact,
there is actually evidence. There's evidence to the contrary of that, in that when they had the samples come back, then they they found out how old it was. They found that the samples from the moon is approximately 500 million years old, older than Earth is. So what that tells us that the moon was not even created in the same cloud of dust as Earth was or this solar system was. In fact, this galaxy. So it had to be from somewhere else. And if people are going to prove to themselves that there's something up there, write to NASA and tell them that you want a picture of the Schrodinger crater. Schrodinger, Schroedinger crater. If you blow that up a little bit, you're going to find in the usually the way it comes in the lower left side, you're going to find a building in the bottom of the crater that looks just like a swastika. Now, explain that one. Also ask for the picture of the Bancroft crater, because if you look in there and blow it up, you're going to see buildings, long buildings next to each other in the bottom of it. And this is, it cannot be explained by nature. And if you get it yourself from NASA, then you have a little closer view of it. Anyway, that's my story.
Okay.
I like your story. I think you're right, and I think that it shows us that there is someone there. I think we've gotten to the point in this conversation, and I don't mean today. I mean in general, the conversation about the moon. Is someone there or is someone not there? We have moved past that because we have enough evidence to just say there's someone on the moon. I don't know why people are beating around the bush when about it. There's someone up there, and we need to know who it is. And we need to know if, how they're affecting Earth. If they're affecting Earth, are they coming to Earth? In who they are, because we're getting a lot of reports, and we have been for centuries now, a couple of centuries of people, coming across extraterrestrial beings. Now, whether you believe that, that's another thing. But they're out there, and I don't think everyone's lying. I don't think everybody's lying when they say they saw a spaceship or they're creating all these CGI films or whatever. No, there's something going on, and I don't see why we have to be in the dark. But that's just me.
That's all of us. That's all of us that are here tonight. So yay.
So excuse me. So trying to figure out the people that are on the moon. If the moon, for example, I have in my book, is the moon a foreign country? This is interesting because so many of the Earth's governments want to own the moon. They're already kind of, trying to, have these races to the moon of sending probes again. Are there people on the moon that have their own government, their own civilization, their own way of living, their own traditions? That's something to think about. Is the moon a foreign country? Another theory is that after the moon was sent here, that it became a colony planet, and that it was sent here maybe with a few people inside, or maybe it was all mechanical and sent across. But did the beings that are there now happen upon the moon and take over the moon? That's one theory. The other theory is that it is a mechanism to watch us, an observation post with beings in it, that may possibly be connected to the seeding of life on Earth, and they are observing Earth, watching what's going on, because they're observing maybe their creation, and not just the moon. Oh, it's smaller than Earth, and these guys created us. But the moon being a ship, maybe, and a sort of an offshoot of a huge mothership somewhere that may be watching all the planets in the solar system, and that's one theory.
I join you on that one.
Sorry. Yeah.
I join you on that one, on the observation post.
You know what comes to mind when you say this, Connie, and I'm being funny, but that humorous joke about the stars are actually holes in the lid of the jar.
Oh gosh.
Sorry.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
yeah,
something if it turned out that what we're looking at is not real all along?
Yes.
And what we
Yes.
think is the universe is just here for our benefit, just to fool us somehow, you know?
yeah.
Yes.
Some people think that the moon is a hologram. I don't believe that, but that's been put out there that it's just there. There's something, else going out there, and that's just we're being fooled by it. But anyway, so I just want to say that as far as who is on the moon, there are, the usual suspects. I have a
Mm.
chapter in my book titled Hark Who Goes There, where I talk about some of the people or these species of extraterrestrials that just may be on the moon. For those of you who are not familiar with this, there are people on Earth that claims that they have been in touch with extraterrestrials. They have channeled information. They've written complete books where they said came from extraterrestrials, which I also say is the unseen world because we get information from those sometimes that we cannot see. So
Yes.
the main suspects, of course, are the Anunnaki. People think that the Anunnaki own the moon, that it is their spaceship, that the Anunnaki pulled that thing in here, and that they still, so on the Anunnaki were beings that the Sumerians thought created humans to mine for gold on Earth. A lot of people are familiar with that story. People believe that they may still be, maybe on the moon. Some believe that, there's a story that's saying there's gold on Earth missing. Where's it go? All the gold going? I thought that was really strange. Is it going to the moon? Are they still mining somehow? There are others that are saying that the Earth is being mined for water and other resources. I just had someone at my home. I had a book launch party a couple of nights ago, and someone was telling a story of two incidences where people had witnessed rivers, the water shooting straight up into the sky from rivers,
Wow.
with UFO over it. And so the thought is out there that they might be taking resources from the earth, such as water or gold, and to the moon, maybe for usage on the moon, or to send it elsewhere from the
Wow.
moon. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So we have a comment here, Con. Hang on. Oh, it closed. Give me 1 minute. This is a good question, so I just want to pose it to you. This is one of our friends. And of course I have to wait for the ad to play. Okay. Um, so what are your thoughts about the moon being currently occupied by the secret space program and it being used for training and cloning? Any thoughts about
Right.
that?
Right. So I talk about in my book the fact that we may have a secret program where people have been taken from Earth, not abducted, but chosen to go into space and to possibly live in a colony that we placed on the moon for a kind of training. You're going to have to repeat the question again, Nori, too, because I
Sure.
already lost it. But for a kind of training to teach us to live in space and to test to see what it would be like to live on another planetary body. So, it's thought that maybe we have people up there involved in this kind of research to
Yes.
see what it would look like, because the Earth resources are dying. We're not helping it here, and we may
Exactly.
have to escape. So there may be, a colony that was placed there.
Right.
See how our bodies handle it and that kind of thing. So that is a thought.
That's a that's a good answer. Um, And Marius has one more question since you mentioned Atlantis. What about the good Atlanteans making the moon as a spaceship and manipulating the Great Flood? Maybe? Question mark? I'm adding the question mark.
Manipulating the Great Flood, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you making the Atlanteans making the moon as a spaceship?
The Atlanteans making the moon as a spaceship.
Okay. I haven't heard that theory, and I don't think so. I really believe that the moon was created outside the universe and brought in. However, that doesn't mean that the Atlanteans weren't going back and forth. So basically, there was a time in our history that said that we had the ability to fly, long before we did. The Sanskrit writings talked about ships that we had. It goes into great details of the energy that we flew on. Anyway, it said that man had that ability, and we went back and forth. Some of them went to the moon, and some of them went beyond. So we had that capability. So it could be that they were flying to the moon and even beyond. And maybe, with the destruction of Atlantis, there's been 5 destructions. We've had to start over and over again here. They could have gone to the moon. We also could have been, trapped on the moon. There could have been humans from Atlantis or from somewhere else that got stuck due to the flood or one of the cataclysms, and they couldn't come back. And then they were forced to stay on the moon as a civilization. Also, if we had that technology to go to the moon, could they have started some sort of destruction on Earth as far as a worldwide cataclysm for whatever reason? Sure.
Yes.
We don't know what kind of scientific technology we have, what they had at the time.
Yes. Good point. Very good point. Really good, Connie. Thank Constance. Do you go by Connie or you go by Constance now?
So I go by Constance. I grew
Okay.
up with Connie, but I like Constance. The other suspects that might be living on the moon could be reptilians. And, I used to cringe. I didn't even want to look at the
Right.
word or thought of there being reptilian beings. It used to
Right.
really bother me, but I've gotten used to all this now.
Yeah.
And so there is a story out of Africa, and I'm sure you both have heard it, Zulu people, who said the in their ancient tale of how the moon was created. They said the moon is a hollowed out egg. They used the term egg, which really they meant planetoid, that it was hollowed out and it was sent across the universe and placed in Earth's orbit. And that the 2 brothers were like these reptilian kind of beings. Yeah. So, there is a thought that maybe if that story is true, because it's funny how it matches the Russian story. That's just
Yes.
what the Russians said. Maybe it could be beings that have that kind of a form,
Yes. Yeah.
that are there too. Of
Well,
course, we have, yes.
yeah,
Oh
well,
no,
think
I was
about it.
just. Oh,
We
sorry.
have statues of people with crocodile heads all over the planet. In India, you see them in Africa, they have them in South America. What did they see in order to make those statues? So I'm struggling with this one, but it's there.
Yes, yes. That and the dragons and all of that look. Yeah. I mean they were copying what they were seeing, I think.
Mm-hmm. So one more quick question from Marius, and then I would love for you to tell people how to find you and how to find your books. We still have about 10 minutes though. So Marius asked, do we travel there by interdimensional hologram portal of some type to the moon?
Do we travel there? Can we travel there?
Can we?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Of course that's a difficult question to answer, but I'll give you what I know. Okay. So I do believe there are portals on Earth that we can travel through. And these portals were used for sure in ancient times. There are stories. I call this the extraterrestrial freeway. I believe that extraterrestrials are using portals, wormholes, tunnels, passageways to be able to traverse the universe and quickly and come out. They can come out on the moon, they can come out on Earth. And we have in our history that kind of technology that were said that people could go through and they would disappear and then they'd come back later. And that's how some of the gods traveled. So yeah, that's a thing. One of those portals for is said to be in Iraq. And there's one portal. I talk about this in Moon Mysteries where it looks like um, it was it's some kind of a Stargate. It looks like a Stargate. The lunar orbiter, no, the NASA astronauts photographed this thing. It looks just like that thing out of the Stargate science fiction show. It's black, it's blue, and it's round. And someone, it's Michael Salla, I think Salla. He was saying, "Oh, that looks like a Stargate. Is there a Stargate on the moon?" Well, so yeah, to answer your question, quite possibly. Also, I would like to say that we have our astral bodies, our spirit bodies, light bodies, whatever you want to call it, the soul. We leave, we exit that sometimes when we are asleep and we travel. And we could have visited all kinds of planetary bodies and dimensions and just and not remember. We are not who we think we are. We are not these bodies. We are powerful light beings that
Yes.
can go. So if you ever had a dream that you were on the moon, maybe you actually were there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Constance, how can people find you and how can people purchase your books?
So my books can be purchased through Amazon. That's just the easiest way to go. If you don't want to go through Amazon, there's of course Adventures Unlimited Press, which is my publisher, and almost any other bookstore. If you Google it, you can find it. Just but Amazon is the way. Guys, I'm on Facebook. I'm still trying to get acclimated to some of the TikTok and things, but you can find me there for sure. I have a Moon Mysteries page if you're on there. I put up all kinds of content on the Moon Mysteries there and what's going on today with the moon. I have a website, Constance CV Briggs at ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mhm.
So what else do we need to know before we wrap up? We have about 8 minutes, and what
I
what
got
do you think is really
one
important for us to
one
know?
one question have been burning at me for some time, and that is, what do when you do research in the arena you run across stuff and you can draw conclusions from other people's opinions or science. What do you think about disclosure?
Oh, disclosure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that we are on the verge of disclosure. I think that the higher ups know more that they're letting on, but I think that they're reaching a point where they're going to have to say something. Too many people are aware of what's going on. There's all kinds of strange things going on out there. I think it's coming. And I think that there are people like you guys and that are talking about this are here to let people know that disclosure is coming. And I don't I mean, I think we have been reached by extraterrestrials. They are here. They have presented themselves, but not to the masses. But the masses will know, I think, sooner than later. And I think that we're being prepared through the media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slowly in little drips and drabs. But if we look at entertainment, it's freaking everywhere. Excuse my colloquial language, but it's everywhere, right? I mean, it started out in The Simpsons and then it trickled out into the movies. And now, people talking about extraterrestrials on TV, it's just an everyday thing. I mean, that's part of the disclosure, right? But we're talking about the disclosure where somebody says, hey, guess what? There's a big ship out on the lawn in DC, and don't be scared, but there's a bunch of unusual looking beings there too,
Yeah.
right? That's the kind of disclosure we're waiting for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to happen. I just believe
Yeah.
that they're on the verge of telling us. And I do think that the media and the movies, like you said, are being used. Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, was channeling information from higher beings, extraterrestrials. And I believe, and so do a lot of people, feel that Star Trek was created from his information that he was getting from these beings. I think shows like that are preparing people. And I
Yes.
think that we need to get ready. The only way we're going to ever be a space-faring people, a space-faring world, is to let everybody know on Earth, oh my goodness, on Earth, that, we're not alone in the universe. Don't we
Yes.
want to be the people out there traveling the stars too? The only way we can
Absolutely.
get to know that is to educate people
I love
about,
that.
yeah.
I love that. Augie, we've got 5 minutes. So do you want to ask Constance your famous question? Your world famous question?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. What if you could talk to the whole world, Constance, and the world was listening? What would you tell them?
Just repeat what I've pretty much been saying, that we're not alone in the universe. We never were. There is a galactic community out there that are waiting for us to come aboard. They're waiting for us to grow. They're waiting us to understand. We're a young species of beings, and they are waiting for us. So do your best to make it happen.
That's
Yeah,
so good.
absolutely.
So good.
And
That's so. Do you think we need to raise our vibration in order for that to happen? Because I mean, I mean, that's like that's like the hot topic that is in conversation all over the internet and the spiritual community. Do you think that has something to do with it, raising our vibration?
I think that it could have something to do with it because, from my understanding, most of the universe, it's peaceful. Not all. It's like Star Wars. There's black and white are good and bad, but we do need to, I think, become a more peaceful people, and that will help us to raise our vibration, and they will
Yes.
welcome us in better. Who's going to want a war? People who are still participating in primitive war to come into their community. So if
Exactly.
that's what you mean, Nori, when you say
Yes.
raising the vibration, becoming more peaceful and more
Yeah.
understanding and more
yeah,
loving, yes. They're not going
Absolutely.
to have us.
Absolutely. That's
higher
wonderful.
consciousness. Yeah, absolutely. And for the last thing now, why don't you hold up so we can see the books that you have
Yes.
there, and
Yes. Yes, please.
also
Can you
tell us
see
the
my
titles.
lights have gone? My lights kind of
Ooh,
blew out.
that's nice.
Here is the moon's
Very
galactic
nice.
history. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
and here's the moon mysteries.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Constance. These are
Thank you so
fabulous.
much.
I'm going
Thank
to
you.
Amazon to purchase mine now as soon as we're done.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I want to.
There's a
Absolutely.
lot more information in here, guys. You can't cover it all in an hour.
No
Just
doubt. No doubt.
trying to pick and choose what to talk about is
Exactly.
Yeah, you
yeah.
Exactly.
got you got pictures in there too.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pictures in the new book.
Oh,
Yeah, not so well. There's some in the Moon Mysteries book. Yeah, but there's quite a bit in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
show us one of the pictures at the very last end here.
Wow. Okay, which one
How
should
do
I
you
use?
choose, right?
Right. So, okay, here's a picture of a planet hitting the Earth, talking about that theory.
Oh,
Wow.
Uh, here's a picture of some of the Apollo astronauts.
yeah. There you go.
So, yeah, talks about
All
them a
right.
lot. Yeah, okay.
Constance, I just want to thank you. You did such a great job tonight covering
Thank you.
so much in ways that each of us, especially in the chat room, people who are listening, that each of us can understand, from the from the beginners, people who are just coming into this understanding, and then people who might even be in the secret space program who are in the chat room. You've done such a great job of explaining this to us. So thank you so much. And
Oh,
you have to come back again. You got to come back.
oh, okay. Anytime. Thank you for having me. I love you guys. Thank you.
Love you too.
Thank
Love you
you.
so much. Yep.
That's great.
Yep. Take care, everybody. We'll be back here next Tuesday. Hope you'll be here with us. Augie, you got any final
Yeah.
words?
Yes. Well, next Tuesday again, it's going to be really interesting, but I can't tell you because I want you to be there. I want you to have that anticipation. So just be
It's a
there and you're going to
secret.
find
It's a
out.
secret. It's a secret.
Until then, be good to each other.
Bye, everybody. Much love.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, Constance.